Seifert has stepped out on us, guards. You know about that?
Well, I know he joined Sunday Sermons.
Sunday Sermons.
Yeah. I think he thought you were hosting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's see what he has to say about that. Man, oh man. I mean, we're looking for a little loyalty. And, I mean, it is the show I usually host, but were you aware that it was Sinekin hosting Sunday, not me?
I made the assumption because Sinekin was the one who reached out that he was the one hosting the show, and that assumption turned out to be right. I'm big in Green Bay, and he has a big following in Green Bay, so I don't want to. I need to maintain that audience that I have out there, or I'll lose it.
I understand that. A good question has come in from Kyle out of Isanti, and this actually it was intended for Johnny Athletic, but it really, I think, is more apropos for you to answer. Did Johnny see the photos of Kyler Murray hitting the gym this weekend? He's got the physique of DK Metcalf. I think he's all in this year. Is he studying the playbook just as hard? And what is his BMI? Can you answer any of those questions for Kyle from Isanti?
I definitely don't know his BMI, but I think we probably will have to put him into the conversation with NFC North BMI coaches that we never really finished last year. But I did see the series of photos that he posted, including one of him and Jordan Addison working out at a place that did not appear to be Minnesota. So it must have been a different part of the off season, but that was kind of interesting and cool to note that they had gotten together, at least for that particular workout. And so, the OTA is open this week, and I expect Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy to be very motivated to be at their very best from the very start, because you never know when decisions are made or when things are locked up, and you don't want to leave anything to chance. So it should be I don't expect to see them step into the squared circle per se. I do expect it to be a running story for the entire remainder of the off season and then into training camp as well.
So tell me refresh my memory on what OTAs are and what the purpose of them is, what good they do.
Organized team activities. And so it's just a ramp up, mostly mental, I think, in terms of installing your offense, installing the defense, installing the special teams schemes. And then they start over again in training camp, but it's a initial layer of teaching everybody the offense that you plan to run, the defense you plan to run. Even if you were a longtime player here, there's changes and things that they're going to emphasize and things they want to see what it looks like. And so you'll get a lot of, especially the way Kevin O'Connell runs it, you get a lot of sort of half-speed drills where people are just practicing where they're supposed to be and what their assignments are. And you occasionally get, in the 7-on-7 type situation, some competitive reps. Then when they go to 11-on-11, it's low speed, and so there's no hitting. There's not supposed to be any contact whatsoever, and especially the way O'Connell runs them, they are mostly for mental reps as training camp approaches.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure I asked my next question of Gessling. I don't think I've asked you this. If I have, forgive me and let me know. You can correct me, but there was a report just within the last, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know if it was a written report or a broadcast report, or maybe both, from .com Tom. And I believe the guts of it was the Vikings want, more than anything else, a blood and guts, head-on, face-to-face battle for quarterback supremacy for the 2026 season between J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray. And I'm curious to know if you share that belief, if you think that oversimplifies it, because I have to admit, I have come to this thinking this is set up for Murray to be the starter. That's the intent. Now, again, I guess if something goes haywire, who's to say? But I never felt, no matter what they're trying to project, that it's really intended to be that kind of thing where there's full understanding of could be one of them, could be the other one. What do you think? What do your instincts tell you and your reporting tell you?
Yeah, I think it's a competition in the sense that the best player is going to be the quarterback. And, and that's where they've left it. And we can all, with our own eyes, and critical thinking ability make the projection that Kyler Murray is more likely to be the best player, the best quarterback on the roster in training camp. But there's no reason for that the Vikings need to say that. I mean, I guess there's a small argument to be made that if you're going into the season with your hopes of making a deep playoff run, you might want to just commit to a quarterback right away, publicly, privately, behind the scenes, in front of the media, whatever, and say, this guy is our guy. We can't wait to see how great he's going to be in our offense. We think he's going to be great, and on and on and on. But I think that what they've chosen is just to the less said, the better. There's no rule that says they have to declare who any of their starters are. And if somehow it spurs J.J. McCarthy into massive overdrive and he makes massive gains from where he was at the end of last season and makes things really interesting with Kyler Murray on the assumption that Kyler Murray adjusts well to this scheme, et cetera, then there's no bad outcome there. And so I just think that they have not felt the need to explain exactly, who the starter is going to be. It's the same, really, almost any position. In theory, Christian Darrisaw at left tackle is in competition with the other tackles. Whoever is the best left tackle on the roster is going to play, but we can all look at it and say Christian Darrisaw is the best left tackle on the roster right now. It would be shocking if he was not the left tackle. And now, I'm not saying it would be shocking if J.J. McCarthy emerges from this as a starter. I'm just saying that's the version of competition that I see this being, is that whoever is the best quarterback is going to play. And we can all use our brains in terms of what we think is the likeliest scenario there.
And we can't back into the schedule now. Now we know it, right? Don't we start with 2 NFC North games right off the bat? We can't mess around here. We got to hit the ground running.
Only happened one other time. I think it was 2003. They played the Packers in week 1 and then the Bears in week 2 and won both of those games. And so they're doing that again this year. It'll give them a good early sense of where they stand against the most important competitors, and we'll see where it goes from there. So
do we expect to see both the quarterbacks at the OTAs this week?
As far as I know, yes. And they've been here for various portions of what come before this, right, which is some on-field work, a lot of weight room work, classrooms kind of stuff. So I would think in this scenario that again, they're voluntary, and so there's nothing requiring anybody to be here. But these are probably important, very important days for anyone that's on any level of competition, no matter how you think it might end up turning out. So the Supreme Court ruling affecting our guy B-Flow, for those who've not been paying attention to this story, what exactly was the ruling, and what does this have to do with B-Flow's lawsuit? Yeah, so he filed a lawsuit 4 years ago, like right after he got fired by the Dolphins after the 21 season, and while he was interviewing for other head coaching jobs, and eventually didn't get one. He went to the Steelers to be an assistant coach. And for the most part, the legal wrangling for over those 4 years has been whether the case could continue in courtrooms, or if by NFL rule and wordings of employee contracts that this dispute belonged in the NFL's private internal grievance process, which is headed by Roger Goodell, which would seem to give the league a leg up on any dispute that's being heard, because he's the one who ultimately would make the decision. And so Brian Flores' legal team was fighting very hard to keep this out of the grievance system and to keep it in the legal, or to ensure that it could be in the legal system. And they lost some hearings, won some hearings, finally got it secured by a upper court that most of this could stay in the legal system, and the league actually appealed to the Supreme Court to try to get it into its grievance system, and the Supreme Court declined to hear the case. So it is going to move forward as a classic legal battle here that'll happen in public in courtrooms. There'll be discovery, there'll be depositions, assuming there's no settlement. And so a lot of things could potentially, in theory, become public in terms of Brian Flores' allegations of racist hiring practices at the time of his lawsuit.
Do we have a GM front runner yet?
Nothing that I feel comfortable saying. Like we can all guess who's this connection and that connection, and Kevin O'Connell knows John McKay from the Rams, and the owners know Terrence Gray and Reed Burkhardt because they were scouts in the organization for a long time. Everybody knows Rob Brzezinski, and so I don't have a horse in the I don't see there being a horse that's in the lead right now. Of the finalists, 4 of them are assistant GMs, and or I shouldn't even say finalists. Of the people in the second round,
right?
4 of them are assistant GMs with longtime personnel backgrounds, and the other is Rob Brzezinski. So we can, I've at times felt it's realistic to read into what they're probably looking for, which is somebody with a personnel background, which is not what Rob Brzezinski is, but I can't say, I don't think that they have a favorite. And so if they don't have one at this point, it's hard for me to guess who it might be when they do have one.
The heat is this week's kind of a good test for you guys, right? Because it'll give you a little flavor of the training camp heat, inevitably, right? Because it's pretty muggy today. Temperature's rising. So does this actually get you in training camp shape?
These practices, I think there's 90 minutes at about noon in May, and so I can't say that I will be coming out of here in great physical condition, but I'm working on it, right. and I actually view it as fun to be out there in the heat and the sun, and it's come quick, but we deserve it after this long winter, so I'm looking forward to it. We
appreciate the bonus time. We'll be in touch. Thanks, Kev.
Yes, sir.
Kevin Seifert, ESPN, on a number of Vikings-related subjects. Let's get a pause in here. I want to get to some texts that came in, largely reacting to part of our conversation with Johnny Athletic. Louie is going to be in studio in the 5 o'clock hour of the program. So if you have hockey questions, you can get those in early, too. Back in just a minute. We apparently had a Dean Blevins moment during the after Game 4, turned out to be the deciding game in the rather shortened Eastern Conference finals. I believe there were 3 Knicks players assembled at the table.
Bridges, Brunson,
and Cat, right?
Hart.
Oh, Hart.
Josh
it wasn't
Hart.
Cat. Okay.
Yeah, OG and Cat were earlier.
That's right. That's true. Okay. And, does it make any sense to play the sound? Because I need to set it up a little bit more.
Well, I think we need to play the original for maybe those that aren't familiar with Dean Blevins.
That's a good place
we used to play
start.
It all the time.
I've been kind of waiting. It's one of those moments in NBA history you say, will that ever be repeated? And I assumed no, but kind of hoped that, somewhere down the road, there might be another Dean Blevins kind of moment. What do we mean by Dean Blevins kind of moment? Well, let's play it back. An interesting exchange between Dean Blevins and a legendary National Basketball Association coaching figure.
Dean Blevins, News 9, Oklahoma City.
I can't understand you. Food in your mouth.
I didn't expect you that quickly, Coach. I'm sorry.
I'm being serious. I can't understand a word you're saying.
I still laugh every time. It's just so good.
Blevins just retired, by the way.
Because Pop could absolutely understand him, but he was annoyed. It's the old deal of, come on, man, we're in a presser. Can you put the chicken wings down for a minute and just be professional and ask your question and then wait to eat? There's already that cliche about, bloated sports writers eating free food all the time. Never eating anything healthy, never work out, just in terrible shape, the whole bit, which is probably not even fair anymore, but that's the deal. And that goes back, God, that's got to be...
It was a Thunder and Spurs playoff series.
So that's got to be
whenever that
10
was.
years?
Yeah, I can maybe see if I have the date on it.
Yeah.
2014.
Okay, 20, so more than 14. So 12 years ago.
12 years ago. Blevins just retired a year ago.
He did, that's right.
And now he's basically on a one-man crusade against the flopping thunder narrative. Like, he's just obsessed as those of us on one side are about
he's
the
on the
flopping.
other side?
He's on the other side. He's mad at everybody not named Mike Breen. It's pretty funny.
That's pretty good. I didn't realize that was his new role.
I follow him on Twitter.
Yeah,
and
that's his crusade.
It is, yeah.
So, in any case, the three that Guardsy mentioned, Knicks are celebrating their victory. And, well, let's just listen to what, because I don't think in this case we get any kind of audio.
It's very faint of the individual.
Of the individual who asks the question that will explain, if it's not evident, why we're bringing up the Dean Blevins precedent.
This is Josh Hart that you will hear mostly with a little bit of Jalen Brunson.
Okay.
Not just 1, 2, or 3, but a whole team of those kind of guys and that kind of character. It puts you in a position to be successful.
Don't say anything. I see it. Don't say anything. I know.
And then you don't come in sucking your fingers. You got chicken wings. You're supposed to be asking questions. You went and got chicken wings. No, you don't get none. Oh man, them wings are hitting though. They're hitting, yeah.
Brady, you got it.
So, I guess what we can deduce from that is one of the reporters has got a big bowl of chicken wings in front of him, munching on them while, is he still taking notes? Does he have a tape recorder? I don't even know how it's done any longer. And the players noticed.
Yep.
And it was Brunson who kind of escalated it, right? Don't say anything. I see it. Don't say anything.
Yes.
Is that him?
Brunson, yes. So it's obviously a guy they know well. So it's got to be a New York media member.
Right.
Because I'm trying to figure out who it was. And I'm sure the reporter, a male in this case, has been identified. But I just love the Brunson thing. Like,
I do too. Don't say anything.
Yeah, don't say anything. Don't give me any attention.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. But Josh Hart couldn't help himself.
It's not a good look. Because, look, everybody gets hungry, and everybody, maybe that reporter hadn't eaten all day, right? And say, I had some wings back here. I bring some wings to the presser, and they're probably not going to be out for a while. I'm just going to sneak a couple of, I wonder if he snuck some flats in or the drummies, whatever. But no, you just put them under the seat so you're not tempted. Put them under your seat, wait for the interviews to be completed, and then follow through with it. Do we remember, or do we know, was it ever established what Blevins was eating?
I don't think it was.
I don't think it was wings. I think it might have been a sandwich.
I think it was a sandwich.
Might have been a sandwich.
Yeah.
The way he Blevins says it. Will you play it one more time for me?
Hang on.
It's just too good. It's just
pop
the best.
food in your mouth.
Dean Blevins, News 9, Oklahoma City.
I can't understand you. Food in your mouth.
I didn't expect you that quickly, Coach. I'm sorry.
I'm being serious. I can't understand a word you're saying.
Didn't we try to get Blevins on about that at the 10-year anniversary or something?
No, we tried to get him on last year to promote the Western Conference Finals.
And he burned us.
Never heard from him.
Maybe he knew what was coming. That we were going to. Maybe he knows we've been playing that soundbite for.
Maybe
we can't be the only show. Well, maybe we might be.
No, I think we are.
The only show actually.
Who else would and why?
Else? You're right. Yeah, it's just because it's so perfectly Pop who.
Yep.
Wanted to be abrasive, right? And
I got a Pop follow-up, by the way, that I want to get to, but go ahead.
You hand him an excuse, right? He's annoyed with the whole process. You hand him an excuse because you can't keep your grubby little fingers off the chicken wings or the club sandwich, whatever the hell it is. And so he's gonna, whether he can understand you or not, he's gonna shame you, right, in front of all of your media brethren. It's just, but the setup's funny. The Blevins response is just perfect.
Call him Coach. He's 50 years older than the coach. Got to call him Coach.
And I
get it. You say Coach sometimes when you're frantic.
Crestfallen, whatever the case.
Blevins, we came to find out, we learned, you may have known this or were reminded of it, he's like an all-time Oklahoma quarterback, Sooner quarterback.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Who then went on, obviously, to a legendary Oklahoma City television career. But the Pop follow-up is, I'm curious if you've caught on to this, every time the Spurs lose, then they win, and the story is Pop went in there. They might have forgotten who they were, and Mitch Johnson's the coach, but we had it after game one with the Wolves.
Pop reminded them how they got there, exactly.
And so with the Wolves, it was Pop watched film with them, and then with this latest series against the Thunder, then it's like, I get it, it's Pop, and obviously he had his career ended by a horrible situation, right, medically, so I'm not trying to make fun of the deal.
I know what you're saying. Chances are Pop might have talked to them before a loss or two as well, but that's not the angle because we want to make it Pop comes to the rescue.
It's just funny, and I'm sure Mitch Johnson doesn't care, but
I'm sure he doesn't.
He might a little. Like if every time they win a game and he's the one pulling all the strings,
it's too good.
That the first thing the Johnny Athletic in San Antonio Davey wants to do is measure and quantify the Pop factor. It's just funny to me because we've seen it twice now in these playoffs, and it's not like they've had like a ridiculously adverse path.
No.
Like they're on a great run. They're a good team. It's just funny to me. That's all.
I got a Michael Beasley nugget, which you may or may not be familiar with.
I'm not, but I always love them.
And then we'll get to some texts I want to respond to regarding part of our conversation with Johnny Athletic having to do with Anthony Edwards. It's still being revisited. His decision to congratulate the Spurs with 8 minutes to go in what turned out to be the decisive game number 6. Louis is going to be in studio in the 5 o'clock hour of a very busy edition of the Bumper to Bumper program. Stay tuned.
Bumper to Bumper with Dan Barrero on the Fan.
It happens only once a year in Las Vegas.
Dan Minnesota noted this fun fact. I believe this is yesterday. On this date in 1966. So that's 34 plus 26, isn't it?
Sounds right.
Isn't that 60 years?
Yeah, it'd be 60. Yeah.
I think 60 years ago yesterday. Here's your headline. NHL club named the North Stars. Minnesota's new National Hockey League team will be called the North Stars. That name was announced Wednesday by Walter Bush Jr., president of the new Twin Cities team that will start playing in the NHL in the 67-68 season. The name was selected from 1,536 entries in a contest sponsored by the Hockey Club of Minnesota, Inc., which will operate the new franchise. Winners of a $100 savings bond and 2 season tickets for the 67-68 season were Mr. and Mrs. William R. Swanson of Shoreview, a St. Paul suburb. Has anybody ever tried to contact the Swansons later? Are they still around? I hope they are.
I'd never heard their name until now.
I hadn't either.
You wonder if they continue to be season ticket holders after the freebies ran out, if they were so... Obviously, they were fans, if they were inspired to write...
Louis might know who they are, might even know them.
Probably.
Wouldn't shock me.
They probably cabin next to him at Balsam Lake.
Yeah, that might well be. I got a kick out of that one.
The Swansons of Shoreview.
Yeah, the Swansons, just...
I wonder if that's my friend Charlie's parents.
Oh, it's a good question.
He's a big sports fan.
Yeah, who's to say? $100 savings bond and season tickets for that first year. Not a bad prize. I think you should get the prize forever.
I think perpetuity would be good.
Perpetuity, man. If you come up with that one, that's pretty good.
1,500 entries. You wonder how many repeats there were.
Yeah.
There can't be 1,500 unique sports names, right? We've got
I would think not.
Panthers and Cougars and all those Lions, Tigers running around.
That's true. I'm sure there were
North Star's a great name.
It's a great name, and I wonder how common it was, though. But it sounds like, based on that they won it, it seems like it would be theirs alone unless they won, there was like a tiebreaker or something.
Right.
And that gave them top billing for the actual tickets of the savings bond.
Yep.
So how much would the savings bond be worth today? $100 savings bond,
What year?
67, 68. So 67. No, 66 is when this was announced. 1966, because we said 60 years ago. And do those sorts of savings bonds still exist of that sort? I remember growing up with those. I just don't know if they still do them. $100 savings bond.
Yeah, I used to
what
get
does AI say? Does it say anything?
So a U.S. savings bond from 1966 had a maximum lifespan of 30 or 40 years. So they've completely stopped earning interest now.
Okay.
A $100 face value bond from 1966 is typically worth between $160 and $515, depending on the exact month it was issued. So not too much.
Not much there.
No.
That's not going to impress anybody, is it? I mean, maybe the best thing is you frame it.
Right.
With the letter congratulating you.
Right.
I hope the Swansons are still here. Maybe their kids are. Maybe their kids are listening. Love to hear from them. Because it's a great nickname. It's one of the best ones ever. I don't think there's any question about that.
You'd like to think if they are still around, the Wild would have had the decency to maybe send them some of the alternative jerseys that we still have that still bother you. That we haven't cut the cord with. Like every time they reissue and do a new North Stars colored Wild jersey, you'd like to think the Swansons of Shoreview
got
some
kind of percentage out of it. Yeah, some
or
kind of
just
residual.
A couple of jerseys, a couple of hats. I don't know.
Something like that. Do you remember Michael Beasley? Former Timberwolf?
Told the story every time you bring him up. One of the great nights of my life was at the Embassy Suites in Houston with Michael Beasley at the Final Four in 2016.
You got high with him, right? Is that
no.
No. Oh.
He may have been. I was not.
All right.
Charlie Barker, my guy, we were there for the Final Four, and Michael Beasley just signed a 10-day with the Rockets, so he was hanging out at the hotel. It was an unbelievable night. Great guy.
Michael Beasley. Can't make him up. Apparently, he is an MMA fighter now.
I had heard this, yeah.
And the headline I saw was that another former NBA player, I think, wasn't he with the Wolves for a minute? Lance Stevenson? Didn't we have him or not?
I feel like we did briefly, maybe in the Tibbs
Isn't he
era.
the guy who tried to blow in LeBron James' ear?
He didn't try. He did.
Yeah. Lance Stevenson. Lance Stevenson chokes out Michael Beasley in first round of wild MMA fight between ex-NBA
What a sentence.
teammates. I mean, that's as good a sentence as you're going to get, right? Anybody know anything more about that story? Let me know. Lance Stevenson. So is it legal to choke in MMA?
I think anything's legal, pretty much.
There's no holds barred?
There's not a lot of rules. Lance played here in 2017, so that would have been the Tibbs era.
Yeah.
Then he was with the Iowa Wolves most recently, 23 and 24. I didn't realize that.
Do those of us, it's kind of a potpourri round, do those of us who mocked and ridiculed at every opportunity the Knicks' decision to fire Tom Thibodeau, do we have to have a come-to-Jesus moment? And there's a lot of folks nationally who are have been in the same boat with me on this particular issue. Do we now need to have a come-to-Jesus moment and say that as unfair as it may have looked to do to Tibbs what they did, the Knicks have every right to say, we told you so? Has enough already happened? Because the bit last year was, okay, you're going to fire Tibbs? Then I think the Knicks won 2 games in the conference finals last year.
Against the Pacers.
The bit was, if you want to do what you're doing, then for this to be successful, at the very least, the Knicks need to win 3 games in the conference finals, and or they need to win the conference finals to advance the NBA finals. And guess what? They have. Or do you say, well, do we really know that it couldn't have happened with Tibbs? The bench is better this year. Would he have played it? I don't know. Would he have used Cat, really, in the way that he's now being used, even though it took Brown most of the season to figure it out as well? I mean, you got to realize, again, you could say, yeah, but look at the difference. A year ago, the Celtics, they're playing the defending, NBA champions. The field in the East looked better. The Pacers were really good. Look at the field this year.
That's the biggest comeback.
Atlanta. Remember, Atlanta was a 6th seed. The Wolves were a 6th seed in the West. You tell me there's not a difference. Then they beat a weird injury-riddled Sixers team. I say injury-riddled, one guy who might be there, might not be there, the big man Embiid, but a flawed team, right? And then they beat Cleveland Cavaliers, another fairly flawed, good, but fairly flawed team. Path would seem easier to get to the finals than it was a year ago. On the other hand, you say, but they're not just beating people. They're walloping people in historic fashion. Nobody in the history of basketball, is it 12 in a row now they've won? How many in a row is it? Will you double check? However long the winning streak is, for that many number of games, their margin of victory in all of those games combined is unprecedented in basketball history. Regular season or postseason. So do you say, well, they're not just taking advantage of the softness of the Eastern Conference, their path. They're absolutely dominant at this point. I think those of us, who did, every 15 minutes I did the Tibbs fault thing. Every time something went wrong for the Knicks, do I have to say, yeah, it was fun while it lasted, and I still am not convinced that Tibbs deserved to be fired. I don't think he deserved to be fired. But they are where they are, right? They look as connected and well put together as any team. Now, we'll find out in the next round whether that just has to do with the competition or that has to do with the fact that they really are they're playing well together at the same time, and they've connected very nicely with their coach, too.
They've won 11 in a row.
11 in a row, okay.
The last part of the discussion, I think, is what I give most of the credit to, that their path, honestly, has not been that crazy. They are killing teams. Mm-hmm. But you can also say they were down 22 in game one. Yeah. They lost, they were down 2-1 in the series against Atlanta before they finally figured some stuff out and really have obviously not looked back since. That's the last game they lost was game 3.
I think both those games they lost by 1 point also.
Yep, 107, 106, and 109, 108. We'll never know. We'll never know with Tibbs.
It's unanswerable, but you certainly can't argue that, because let's be clear, if the Knicks had gotten eliminated in the second round,
yes,
if they'd struggled, I'd be going off on them. A lot of the other people who were big Tibbs supporters would have been going off on them as well. And so we have to acknowledge that much, don't we?
Yes.
That it has not, it ain't exactly been a disaster if they are in the NBA Finals,
right.
even if you want to say what they've done is taken full advantage of an extremely soft route.
You can't call it a mistake.
No,
you can't call firing Tibbs a mistake.
No,
which it's a big. When you make a big, bold move like that, I think that's where you start, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's what everybody, because the knives are sharpened. There's no question.
Especially out there.
Especially in New York.
Especially out there.
Yes.
And they've been great. And the one thing you really don't know is, would Tibbs have altered offensively like they have?
No, that's a good.
There's very few games where Brunson is just taking all the shots. He had the great run the other night.
Here's what they're doing. It's the best of both worlds. I think it's the old, for 3 quarters, we're running what we run. If it gets tight or we get in a position where we need 3 straight baskets, then they start going back to the Brunson thing. But I think that's okay. It's the old deal of use at different times in a game. If you're that versatile, it's your credit. The problem before was it was all Brunson start to finish, and Cat would get buried in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And then you'd never see him. Now you're still having some fourth quarters in which Brunson's absurd. Now lately they haven't had enough close games to figure that out. But he had the one great finish,
game 1.
It was the overtime, the comeback game, right down 22, where he was definitely the guy. I can't get to the text because for some reason the little pinwheel's going around has stopped at 4:00, and this goes back to when Johnny was on with us and he wrapped up close to 4:00. I asked him again about the Edwards decision, not because we haven't discussed Edwards congratulating the Spurs early. It's almost the story's gotten a second life because Ant had something I think released versus was it Insta? No, it was
usually
YouTube.
His YouTube show.
Yeah, where he tried to explain why he did what he did. And I asked Johnny if he accepted the explanation, and I think Johnny is in that boat of okay. Is it the best thing he's ever done? Maybe not, but I'm just not. I didn't get that worked up over it in the first place. And there are a lot of people angry with him and with the very notion that in any way Ant's behavior can be explained away. Part of what Johnny tried to put it on the basis of, well, maybe it was his own commentary about, well, who's kidding who? We're outclassed. This was his plea maybe to the organization. I don't know if I agree or buy that necessarily, but one of the suggestions again was, how can Anthony Edwards be viewed as competitive if he's capable of this kind of behavior that a lot of the old-time players ripped him for? I'll say again what I've said, I think, from the beginning. I think he would have been better off waiting. I will always believe that that's the time to do it, and he can say, I don't want to do it. They're celebrating, then I don't want to. I'm mad. So it's like it's already hard enough for me to want to do any of this, but I'm going to get it out of the way early so then I don't have to worry about hanging around. I think that's fairly lame. But if you come out of that decision using it as an example of his lack of competitiveness, then I don't think you've watched him play. I just don't. Because this is where we get into the symbols as opposed to what you watch, what you see when a player is playing. And there are sadly times where people are more taken by the symbols of what you say afterwards or what you do in that sense. Give that more weight. Said the right thing there. I like what he said there. As opposed to, what do you see? Every night when you watch him play, what do you see? Do you see a guy who's competitive? Now, I think there's a legitimate indictment regarding the competitiveness when he says publicly we don't listen to the game plan, because that has to include him at times, one would assume.
It does.
Or, I'm having trouble getting back into my defense, whatever. That would actually bother me more than this. But overall, I just don't buy using this as a weapon, a way to weaponize that. Well, he's not competitive. Yeah, how can he be competitive if he's willing to surrender with 8 minutes to go? Come on, boys and girls. If you paid attention to that game or watched that game at all, the surrender was offered by the head coach when he pulled the starters. That's the surrender. That is the head coach saying, we're done. We're done. We're not going to win this game. I don't like doing it, but it's over, right? So for me, if you say, well, this is why I can't trust him competitively because of what he did there, I couldn't disagree with you more. You know what I mean? I just don't use it. I think you're reading into it more. You cannot like it, and I don't love it. But for me, it's not. I thought he was one of those killers, man. I thought he hated losing. I think he does hate losing. Now, whether he's going to be able to do the things on the court to prove the point in a way that the all-time greats do, that's a fair question. But sorry, I think if you're insulted by the notion that, well, he showed his true colors there, he doesn't care. He's not that competitive. Come on. Let's go back to the fact that he played, as he said, one series on one knee, and he played the other. He did admit, but by the time he got to the Spurs series, both knees were at least, operational.
Right.
But the fact that he ended up playing a lot sooner than anybody anticipated and that a lot of players would have played at all, isn't that a better mechanism to judge competitiveness than, all right, he went there early and he shook everybody's hand. Anyway, anything you want to add to that?
No, I don't doubt his competitiveness at all. And I probably never will, given especially the latest example that the night he got hurt against Denver, the fear and loathing and predictions on if he would ever come back and when he would ever come back, he, first of all, came back much quicker than anybody else thought. So that should blow all of that out of the water. I honestly had no problem with the San Antonio thing. I think we worry too much about the wrong stuff.
Optics.
In general. Yeah, just Isaiah Thomas walked off the one time. Larry Bird, same thing, right? Like there was a whole 20 minutes of The Last Dance having to do with handshakes, right? And who did it,
correct,
when they did it,
yes,
why they did it. I think sometimes we worry too much about that stuff. I also don't know if Ant was playing chess like Johnny Athletic surmised.
Yeah, I'm not sure I buy that.
I could think about it. I could maybe hear it. I don't know. I don't know if it's that deep. I just think when Ant decides to do something, he decides to do something, and I really didn't have a problem with it.
No, I think it was interesting. I was surprised with the angry reaction to that. The few folks sounded downright insulted that there wasn't enough, I guess, pushback and negativity on it. I think you're looking at the wrong stuff. You're looking at symbolic stuff where, again, I'm going to put every time more weight on how quickly a guy comes back from being hurt and what he does while he's hurt to sort of attempt, to a certain degree at least, to keep his team afloat. He wasn't great all the time, but he was not at the top of the list of the things that were going wrong. That's for damn sure. Top 5 at 5 coming up. Luigi coming up. Hockey questions. We hope those start pouring in as well. Second straight week, Luigi is in studio. Back. What are we going to talk about in the top 5, by the way?
The Twins continue to play. They had their losing streak snapped yesterday in Chicago, and playoffs on both the NBA and NHL. And Luigi will be a part of it. I'm going to go get him right now.
You're listening to Barrero on The Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK-GARY Traffic Center.
This report